What's up and welcome to the Kind of Funny Gamescast live for Wednesday, November 20th, 2024. Of course, I am your host, Tim Geddes. I'm joined today by Paris Lilly.
What is up? How you doing?
Greg Miller.
Tim, this is not an Xbox.
It's not an Xbox. It's Cole, everybody. Cole's joining us live on the set. And rounding out the group today, we have Snowbike Mike.
Tim, what up? Thanks for having me today.
Really excited to talk all about S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 today. Remember, everyone, this is the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Each and every weekday, we get together to talk about video games.
Hold up, everybody. Somebody's at my front door.
He's got a ring alert.
Now, I'm part of Mike. I know that we are a silent society.
Yeah.
I want that on the record.
You.
But again, with the power of the Xbox Cloud, if I'm playing Starfield over here, I got to be able to hear it. So
Gotta crank it up.
I got to unmute.
We're in Vegas. We're waiting in line for a taxi. And the man in front of us, his cell phone rings louder than I've ever heard a cell phone ring. And it is Lowrider. And everything in life just felt right. And I looked at Mike and I'm like, Mike, it's not a silent society.
Not in Vegas.
Not in Vegas, baby.
20,000 people pack in the sphere, only one man's cell phone rings. That shows you we're in a silent society.
This is the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Every day we get together to talk about the latest in reviews, previews, and big topic discussions in the world of video games. If you love what we do, please support us with the Kind of Funny membership on Patreon or YouTube to get all of our shows ad-free. Watch us record them live and get a daily exclusive show. For a chance to be part of the show, submit your thoughts and opinions as YouTube Super Chats as we go. A little housekeeping for you. Roger's been working on our Kind of Funny highlights channel. That's youtube.com/kindoffunny. He's been posting some of the best moments throughout Kind of Funny history. He's been focusing on some of our reaction content in the last couple days, posting things like the very first time we saw Keanu Reeves come out for Cyberpunk 2077, the first time we ever saw the PlayStation 5, the box itself. So go check out some of those old school, classic Kind of Funny memories. Remember, we are an 11-person business, all about live talk shows. After this episode, you're going to get a stream of Greg and Bless learning Magic the Gathering. Snowbike Mike is going to teach them the ins and outs of how to actually play the card game that most of us have heard about, but have not ever actually played.
How exciting.
I'm going to use my Ghostbuster cards.
Yeah, we'll let him slide those in.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for taking care of me.
Yeah.
And we just
Sorry no one took care of you in Vegas.
Thank you. You know, no one fed me in Vegas.
I hate you all so much. I'm like, I never thought I'd hate you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I thought you were the chosen
Go
one.
watch the podcast right now, ladies and gentlemen, to find out why Tim didn't feed me in Vegas if you didn't hear.
And then he's like, do more work, do more content, make more content.
Sounds like me, right?
Swing the golf club.
Games Daily that we did today was me and Bless breaking down all of the latest in the cloud gaming situation, both PlayStation and Xbox.
It's
going
good.
hard, and it's a great, beautiful thing. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Delaney Twining and Carl Jacobs. Of course, if you're a Kind of Funny member, you can get today's Gregway, which is going to be all about
TBD.
everyone.
I had to go to the doctor this morning. I had cold. It was raining. I had to drop Ben off. There's a million things going on, so I didn't get my normal time to make the Gregway. So now you get an afternoon Gregway. What's it going to be? Who knows? We'll see how much. I want to see what we get to in here.
That's the good.
Because I want to talk about Starfield in these updates. But if we got to hear about S.T.A.L.K.E.R.
We'll see if we
get it. It sucks. Everybody hates it. Why do we talk about game people love like Starfield?
Oh my God. Today we're brought to you by Sonic and Topgolf, Aura Frames, and the Visual Triangle merch that I'm wearing right now. Everybody, you can look as cool as I do. But we'll tell you about that later. For now, let's begin with what is and forever will be the Roper Report.
There was
no Gamescast doc, so I'm looking at this. I was looking at the Games Daily one,
ladies,
everybody.
gentlemen, NBs, he's only worked here 6 months. So the lack of a doc, it really fucks him up. He's got no idea what show it is, what's going on.
So mumuch. I have to remember S.T.A.L.K.E.R.
Sitting on his throne of burgers over there. We'll give you one. We'll give you one. Starving to death.
Paris, I appreciate your parents. Parents.
Tim sucks.
You broke him. You broke him.
It's over.
You want to take a break, Tim?
We're 3 minutes in.
I appreciate parents too. I mean,
great parents. Patience is the word I was looking for, but shout out to Paris's parents, everybody. Okay, settling in here. The topic of the show. S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2. All right? Heart of Chornobyl. I'm struggling today. I don't know where this is all coming from. S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 Heart of Chornobyl, a 2024 first-person shooter survival horror game coming to Xbox Series X and Series S and Microsoft Windows. Of course, it is also on Game Pass if you have that service. Greg, have you played any?
I have not. It was one of those, obviously, I'm not a big FPS person. And so then the whole post-apocalyptic, everything. It was one of those. I know previews were positive to a degree of what was happening, where it was going, but I wanted to get to this here review and find out what Mike and Paris thought before I committed any time to it.
Paris, how long have you played?
About 11 hours. I've obviously not completed it. I'm going to name drop for just a second because I was in Dallas, Texas doing my JFK conspiracy theory dreams, and I got to see Mike Tyson's cheeks in person. So, you know, that was my weekend. I didn't get a lot of time.
And then Mike, what about you?
Tim, I have played 8 hours of Stalker 2, and unfortunately, I had to put it down. There is a push and pull that we'll talk about on this review where I want to play more. I wanted to see this through, but I just simply could not play any more of this.
Interesting. I can't wait to hear what that means. Of course, because they have not beat this is more of a review and progress review so far, given our thoughts and impressions on our experiences with it. Paris, let's start with you. I want to hear what you have to say about your 11 hours so far with Stalker 2.
So it's interesting because I did the preview as well, and I got to obviously replay a lot of what I had already done in the preview, which was about 3 hours, and I've gone beyond that to about 11. And during the preview, I was very high on it. I was very, very positive about Stalker 2 because I called it like a difficult fun. And it is a difficult game. You're going to die a lot playing it. I love this open world that is the zone. But what I've found is as you progress further, the story isn't grabbing me the way that I thought it would. And there's a lot of technical issues with the game. It's very buggy. I played it on Steam, on PC, DLSS 3, frame generate, like all the bells and whistles enabled. And it's a very pretty game visually, but there's a lot of pop-in that was happening, blackouts in the game, odd bugs with objects, things like that kind of threw me out of the experience somewhat. I will definitely continue to play this to completion because I do. There is a day one patch out now that I've seen some people comment about has resolved some of those quirks that I had playing, for the previous 11 hours. But I can tell this is not a game for everyone. And I'm actually very curious to hear what Mike has to say because this is my entry into Stalker. And even seeing some of the comments today, a lot of people are saying, well, it's kind of like the Bethesda thing where people are like, well, it's a Stalker game. Of course it's going to be buggy. It's going to have quirks. But not everyone's going to know that, right? For a lot of people, this is going to be their first time putting hands on a game, being introduced to this world. And while I'm sure everyone is sympathetic to what GSC Game World has gone through, with that Russian invasion into Ukraine and
they're Ukrainian
the displacement.
Studio,
Yeah, and the delays and everything, because obviously my heart goes out to all those people that have made this game, and to actually deliver it is an accomplishment. But I feel like, and we'll see with this day one patch, I can obviously only comment on what I played, but it almost feels like this needed more time.
Michael, can I ask you a question right away?
Sure.
You said, this is not a game for everybody. If the bugs hadn't existed, would this be a game for you?
No, it is a game for me. Okay. I'm saying that even despite the bugs. This is definitely a game for me. I like this. I like that something's trying to kill me every 2 seconds. I like that. I like the survival aspects of this, scrounging, for weapons and supplies and all that. I love that this exists in an open world setting the way that it is. I think the story, we'll see as I continue to go along, the story isn't grabbing me, but I like the concept of the Stalker world for sure. But what I am saying is, even if the game was perfect, I still think this isn't for everyone. I think a lot of people are going to this going, well, damn, why am I dying every 2 seconds? Why is this? Why is that? What is the story about? I don't think, because even the Metro games, which obviously this team, splintered off from, their DNA is in both of these games. Metro isn't for everybody. And I think this is even a more hardcore version of Metro in that respect. So I get it that this is not going to grab everyone, but people go in knowing that this is a first-person survival shooter game and play it that way. I think there is definitely some fun to be had. Again, visually, it's very impressive. I mean, Unreal 5 is on display here for sure, but there's bugs, there's issues. There's enough bugs here that it can take you out of the experience. And like I said before, we'll see with the day one patch what it does. I did not play it on Xbox, so I cannot comment on how it runs on console. But even on PC, there was definitely issues.
Mike, what'd you play on?
I played it on Xbox Series X, and I can't comment on it did not run well. Of course, I started at the top of the show. I played 8 hours of Stalker 2 on Xbox Series X, and I had to put it down due to so much performance issues. This is a game that is not ready for prime time, unfortunately. It is a game that really speaks to me, as Paris brought up, a first-person, open-world, hardcore survival game. There are moments in this game where I wanted more. I wanted to really dive into this, but I was hit every single moment, almost every second, every minute of texture pop-ins, characters loading in. When you talk about a hardcore survival game, and there are moments where the environment has all these hazards and they just pop in out of nowhere and you die, or an enemy will just show up by your side and start shooting you when it's still trying to load the game, it's a major just, oh, this is frustrating. And I really put myself through the frustration for all the 8 hours trying to just keep trudging along, but I just simply could not. From character pop-ins, dialogues that would just cut out, characters just not even giving you dialogue. I was on fetch quests with characters that would run into a tree and just get stuck there, and it was like, okay, well, this quest is now over, or I have to reload. To, a lot of moments where when you're fighting your opponents, I would have either them not show up on the screen, I would have moments where I'm shooting at the opposition and it wouldn't register for 2 to 3 seconds, so they would look at me, all the bullets would go off, nothing would happen, and then they would get shot a bunch, and it was like, oh, this isn't right. And when we talk about how hardcore this game is, it is extremely hardcore on normal. I mean, 2 to 3 shots, you're going to die. A couple environmental hazards, you're going to die. And so when you have all of these major performance issues racking up, it just doesn't lead to the best situation there. And so, yeah, for me, this is a game that, on the positive note, is really speaking to me. I like this open world. I like this weird world that they've created with the anomalies out there, with the zone. I want to get to know more. I am enjoying the small story thread. I don't think it's anything wowing and amazing, but you understand what's happening with the story and where your character is going, who some of the bad guys are and some of their subplots are. And it's keeping me going where I want to see more of the zone, but I just simply cannot play any more of this at this time unless a day one patch drastically changes what I'm seeing.
Was there a breaking point for you, or was it just chip damage of little bugs?
I mean, I should have stopped after hour 2. I knew after hour 2 that this was not going to be a good experience, and I should have stopped right then and there. But I really wanted to keep going for this review, and also because I was having a little bit of fun with the idea of this game. But it's just chip damage. It's just moment after moment of textures not loading right, the screen just wobbling, performance from my frame rate dipping to players dropping in and out. It just wasn't a good time.
So then, same question for you. If you removed all of these, would you be having a great time? Would you this game be super high? Or?
I think I'd be having a good time.
Okay.
Maybe great if I got really into it. This game really speaks to me as a first-person shooter guy. I felt moments of Escape from Tarkov with the really extreme, intense survival situations to trying to loot bags and going into the grid loot system, moving things over. I love the open world. I like the setting, calling back to Metro and original PUBG map where all these things started to speak to me, and I liked the gunplay, but man, oh man, I have issues with gunplay as well. There were moments where it felt like the auto aim was on, the auto assist, and my gun would just start moving. And I wasn't touching the controller. I wasn't looking at anyone. These were just moments in the game where I'd be moving from point A to point B, and the gun would just start rocking and moving out of nowhere. And it was just frustrating, unfortunately.
So where do we go from here, Paris? Are you thinking that the patches might be able to solve it enough? You get back in there. Do you see yourself completing this game?
Yeah, I want to complete it, and we'll obviously see with the day one patch. I was even just kind of looking at the chat while Mike was talking, and I think people have to understand that this day one patch only came out today, so I don't have any time with it, so I can't even comment on it. So you can only comment on what you've played, and to Mike's point, I've seen a lot of the same type of bugs and issues, even during dialogue scenarios, the characters looking off to the right or to the left instead of looking directly at me, things like that. Or you might be outside and there might be some anomaly weather event going on that's so loud and intrusive you can't even hear the dialogue that's happening. So there's all these quirks, again, with the weapon aiming, things like that need to be ironed out. I can't imagine that everything's going to be perfect because of this magical day one patch. So it's probably going to take some additional time to iron those out. I kind of feel like, hey, let's see what the day one patch looks like. See if it's fixed some of my bigger issues with it. If not, I'm probably going to put it down for a while and just wait and see if those can get ironed out. There's a good game here, and it's unfortunate that there's enough technical issues that's going to prevent some people from wanting to experience what Stalker is all about. I've heard so many people that are Stalker veterans that were excited for me to want to get into this universe, get into this world, and I can see the potential of it, but I need a playable experience. It's not 100% unplayable. I don't want to condemn it that much, but it's unplayable enough that you feel like you're fighting the game to enjoy it, right? So I don't want to do that. I want to just be able to play it and enjoy the experience that I'm having.
So bugs aside, it sounds like you both aren't high on the story, and this being a single player game, I feel like that should be high up there in priorities in terms of something that's like keeping you going. Mike, can you speak to that a little bit about like do you feel like the story of this needs to be great, or?
I mean, I think the gameplay is going to speak for itself with the open world survival tendencies. I think that's going to carry it to greatness. But like the story to me reminds me of Dying Light, where you're either invested in it or it's like, it's just kind of there and we're just moving from point A to point B.
Okay.
That's how this one felt. It did feel like some choice. Paris, maybe you can follow up on this one. I don't know what you chose, but it did feel like you can side with the Stalkers or you can side with, we'll call it the Zone Police, this military group that's coming into the zone to try to take a little bit away from the Stalkers and establish what they want to do in that zone. And it felt like they give you an option early on of you can go help the Stalkers here and climb up to a blimp to get a radio call out, or you can go work with the police and they'll give you a different way to go to that next step. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I chose the cops just because when you have the two markers on the map, I was like, which one am I running to? I chose left instead of right.
Yeah. What's closer? I don't really care about
no
this.
fast travel, right? This is strictly like you're going to go out in this open world and you're going to hustle. You're going to move there. So it's a lot of stepping, a lot of walking.
Is that fun? Is it engaging?
It is fun and engaging if the game weren't just not right technically, because it's cool of you are always on a survival mindset. There are crazy routines of enemies walking around. They're going to survey the areas. There's going to be crazy rats. There's going to be a giant dog. There's going to be an invisible, scary monster chasing you. So there are moments where the tenseness is always there. And Tim, if this game didn't run so poorly, there are beautiful moments in the environment. There are really cool storms and environmental hazards. There are anomalies that will pop up that you have to kind of be mindful of and search for. So like there's a lot going on in the open world that will always keep you on the edge of your seat, keeping you moving and engaged from point A to point B. But yeah, when it comes to the story, it depends on how much you want to put into it. This is a Dying Light situation. Some people love those stories. Some people don't pay attention and they just play the open world and have fun with it.
My question here.
I love, I'll just chime in really quick to add on to what Mike is saying. What I love about this game is the open world because your head is constantly on a swivel. You never know what's going to be around the corner. You never know what type of enemy is going to pop up that you're going to have to engage with. And are you prepared to engage with that enemy? Do you have the right supplies? Do you have your med kits? Do you have your bandages if you're bleeding out? Is there so much radiation which causes you to get more damage? Are you able to suppress that? You know, right? Do you have enough bullets in the guns that you have? Like there's all these things that you constantly need to make sure that you're prepared for when you're going into these encounters. And if you're not, you're going to die. I mean, it's as simple as that. You're going to go down. But to the point of what we're saying here, there's been instances where I'm getting shot at from a house and there's nobody there because I can't see the enemy because they're invisible for some reason.
And for a game, obviously, that this hardcore, if you're going to take shots.
Yeah. So it's little things like that will frustrate you because obviously it isn't intended to be a part of the game. And if they can iron that out, it'll just be a more enjoyable experience.
So then my question comes back to this. As somebody who is not familiar with Stalker, I didn't realize there was this like fan base for it and what it was. And I saw Chaim tweeting about like, or maybe Blue Sky, about how much, you know, he loved the first Stalker and then the problems with this one, yada, yada. My question is this. We keep talking about being a survival first-person shooter. And I saw someone in the chat go by I'm playing it. I'm doing the day one patch. I haven't had these things. I'm having a great time. I love that it's a survival first-person shooter and not just a traditional shoot-'em-up first-person shooter or a game bogged down with RPG elements. So then I turn to you, Mike, and I say, what is a survival first-person shooter? Is it just like when you and I are playing any other survival game and I'm picking things up, but I'm not changing my XP? I'm not getting XP? I'm not
No crafting. So,
Okay.
like, we're not building a base. So that was a big one for me. It's like my mind goes to the open world survival crafting games. There is no crafting. I'm not building a base. You can, of course, you'll grab ammo, you'll dehydrate, and you'll have to replenish with a Red Bull right in there, and then you'll be able to run for longer. You'll also eat. You have small effects on your health bar that, like, hey, I'm hungry or I'm overburdened. I have too much in my backpack. I'll walk slower. When it comes down to survival, I think it is the hardcore nature of it that really speaks to me and speaks to what the game is. It reminds me of Escape from Tarkov, where a couple of bullets is going to put you down, and you got to be mindful of corners. You got to be mindful of sight lines. You want to find cover. You want to take engagements the correct way. It is a giant open world like a Fallout. Think of that kind of setting and all the things you can do in that. That leads to
That
this,
gets me
like,
excited.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
I think a lot of people like that will like that. But the moment you jump in and you find out how difficult it is on the normal setting, it will make or break you. And with what I had 30 deaths within the first probably 3 hours.
Christ,
And it was
okay.
like, it's frustrating because the checkpoint system is not great. You are going to die and you are going to have to really hustle. You're going to have to save on your own. You're going to have to be mindful of that because the checkpoints did not do me any favors and really were breaking me over time. But I liked this open world that reminded me of Fallout. I liked this intense kind of hardcore survival nature of an Escape from Tarkov, an old school PUBG where you have to be mindful and shoot in the right angles. It's a fun game at its core, and that's what I liked about it.
I mean, I feel like I, for a second, just want to jump away from the game itself, but like more talk about the game coming out this way. Obviously, a lot of issues with development of this game that we totally understand, but thinking about Xbox moving Avowed to give this more space, does that feel like it's hard to talk about Avowed, but like, does that feel like the right call? Because does it seem like this game needed more time? Because it seems like to me, putting this game out for review without that patch seems like a very bad idea.
I mean, here's my thought on it. And we obviously don't know with Obsidian, with Avowed, if they needed more time or if they could have brought Avowed out in November as it was rumored to do. But it almost seems like those two games should have been swapped. And maybe S.T.A.L.K.E.R got more time and didn't come out until early 2025. And maybe you did put out Avowed now. I mean, we'll obviously never know. But this for sure needed more time, in my opinion, because first impressions are everything. And again, I can't stress enough that we've not played the day one patch, and I'm seeing the chat saying some people aren't having these kind of issues, which is great. But this was the impression that I've had over the past few days of being able to play it pre-day one patch. And you want to make sure that these games come out in a playable state so that you don't run into this problem. Like, I know we're not talking about this, but even Flight Sim 2024 yesterday, I couldn't play it yesterday because they were having server issues. So I was not able to get in to play that game. So, you know, for better or worse, that's a bad impression on Flight Sim 2024 to people that may have been excited to jump in day one to play it. Now they got to wait an extra day. I was able to jump in this morning and check it out, but, you know, there was a delay on that. So I don't know. I mean, you know, you want these games to come out. You want them to come out as polished as they possibly can. And unfortunately, this is an example of one that just didn't meet that deadline. I mean, you know, unless this day one patch did a lot of heavy lifting, which, you know, I'm a little skeptical on until I try it myself.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Again, not having played it, not being a fan or whatever. It's windy as shit outside, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like this place.
What is it? The Pacific Cyclone or whatever they're calling this one. God damn it. Anyways, I think it's an interesting take and an interesting question of like, why release it in this state? But again, we're in this weird thing of, did the day one patch fix so much of these issues? And I would hazard to guess, right? Even though Xbox cares, I don't know how much they care about the review scores for S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2. Is S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 such a niche title? So hard? So, hey, we're building something very specific here that the S.T.A.L.K.E.R audience is going to love. We don't expect this to be a breakout thing. We don't expect this. That when they're on the tracks that have been laid of like, all right, cool, we send out review code here, and then they're like, shit, the game sucks. We're going to do this patch. It'll be late. Xbox goes, well, We're not going to delay. We're not going to put a weird. We're not going to not send review codes because that's.
But I feel like that's the move, though, right? Like, let's talk about that for a second. Like,
you're not wrong. I'm just thinking.
Wouldn't that make way more sense? Because like, why would they not put out review codes? Because then everyone's going to be like, oh, the game might be bad. It's probably bad because there's no codes. Well, now all the reviewers or a lot of the reviewers are saying, hey, it's a technical mess. Like, you should not play this game right now. Like, that's very bad. That I feel like this conversation we're having here is not talking about how good the game is.
The question the answer to that could be that they didn't know how bad it was. Whoever's what the developer, S.T.A.L.K.E.R developer, why can't I remember their name? S.T.A.L.K.E.R's developers are telling Xbox one thing, and Xbox isn't in the weeds. They aren't the ones.
GSC Game World.
Thank you very much. They're not the ones playing it, problem solving it. They don't know how rough this is going to go, how rough this is going to be. Possibly. Yeah. Maybe the day one patch was supposed to be way earlier. It was during review cycle or whatever.
This seems like the type of stuff
avoidable.
That they need to avoid, because S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2, while I agree with what you're saying about like genre wise and like what this game is a little more niche. This is also one of their big games that they are pushing with their Xbox Game Pass, like the way that they're talking about what the Xbox game lineup looks like, right? Like this is one of the big heavy hitters for holiday, and like to start here, I mean, it's like, guys, we don't need these unforced errors. Like we need positive momentum. Like it just, as an outsider to this, somebody that is not interested in this game at all, this just seems like missteps that they did not need to take.
100%.
Mike, what do you think about that?
I think that the general audience is probably still caught up with Call of Duty on Game Pass to even think or worry about this, right? Like I totally get where you're coming from, and I think there's a small piece of the pie that is looking at this going, oh, that was a misstep, that sucks. But I think the larger gaming audience is hyped up on the cloud, adding more games on where you don't have Game Pass. They are excited of World of Warcraft DLC, Diablo DLC, Call of Duty now being out. Microsoft Flight Sim, even with its woes, is going to wow people over the next 2 weeks. So I think there's just so much in the Xbox ecosystem that small pieces like this that may seem like a big rake to the face are actually smaller in the grand scheme of things than you actually think when you go forward.
I want to keep talking about this, but after a quick word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Sonic the Hedgehog at Topgolf. Y'all, when you take one good thing and you take another good thing and you mash them together, that is when magic happens. Kinda Funny loves Sonic the Hedgehog. Kinda Funny loves Topgolf. So you know Kinda Funny is hyped for Sonic the Hedgehog and friends to arrive at Topgolf at supersonic speed on Friday, November 15th with the launch of the new Topgolf game, Sonic the Hedgehog, exclusively available for play at Topgolf venues across the United States. Created for players of all skill levels, which is great for me, Topgolf meets the fast-paced action of Sonic in this new in-venue game where players go head-to-head in iconic virtual Sonic environments, Green Hill Zone and Sky Sanctuary. You can play as 4 iconic characters, Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy, to hit springs, collect rings, and destroy badniks. For players making the transition from a joystick to a club for the first time, Topgolf has your back with its new club, the Sure Thing, designed to make golf less hard. Come play around with your friends and family at a Topgolf near you and try out the new Sonic the Hedgehog game. This episode's brought to you by Aura Frames. The holidays are all about connecting with loved ones, and there's no better way to do just that than with a digital picture frame from Aura. You can upload your favorite pics of the family to one frame and relive all those happy moments again. Or you could share big news, like a new addition to the family. Most people at Kinda Funny have Aura frames at their desks, and it's always so fun to walk out in the studio and see what memories they have displayed. It's a great gift for your parents or grandparents, and you can even surprise them with their gift being preset with your own pictures. And if that's not personal enough, you can even upload a video message to play on the frame as soon as they plug it in. So the first thing they hear is your voice and how much you love them. For a limited time, visit auraframes.com and get $45 off Aura's best-selling Carver Matte frames by using promo code KINDAFUNNY at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code Kinda Funny. This exclusive Black Friday Cyber Monday deal is their best of the year, so don't miss out. Terms and conditions apply.
The year is 2024. Lasers are a commonly used technology. Snakes have been replaced by small robots and nobody noticed. The government tells us we must choose between resolution, frame rate, and quality. We will not be lied to. For the first time in this long, bloody war, the full power of the visual triangle is ours. On sale now at kindafunny.com/store.
So now that we're back, I want to talk a little bit about what you guys have liked from your experience with Stalker 2 so far. Paris, let's start with you.
So one thing that I want to talk about that I love about Stalker 2 is some of the encounters that you'll have, and not to get too spoilery about it, but I had an encounter that I did during the preview where I went to this tower, and you got into this whole conversation, with these bandits, and there was a guy up on the tower, or he sent you up to the tower to go get the stash and all that. But I played it completely different than I did during the preview. And I got into such an epic and intense gunfight as a result. And I love that's to me is kind of the secret sauce of Stalker 2, where you get these encounters where when it's all working the way that it does, like I said before, you got to make sure that you come into the encounter fully stocked, ready to go as far as supplies go, ammo, health kits, bandages, things like that, because you can literally get pinned down by the AI with stuff like that. And that happened in this scenario, and it was completely different than the way than it was in the preview. So to me, that shows that there's definitely choice in the game. Depending on the choices that you make, encounters can go completely different. So it's not just on rails static. No matter what you decide in a dialogue, the encounter is going to be the same. So to me, that's the big positive of this, where you're going to run into these dynamic encounters in the open world, and depending on how it goes and how you're stocked up, you're either going to die or you're going to get into something really intense.
I like that, Paris. Yeah, I had a good couple of moments, which I'm going to talk about the positives and a little bit of the technical problems, because there is some very interesting situations on that one. You have these fun choices, right? I had a bandit group that was holding up a guy inside of a building who had locked himself in, and they're like, yo, we're getting after this guy. And I was like, well, I got to talk to this guy because I need him to go pay this other guy because I get 20% of it. So I need this guy to live. And they're like, no, he's going down. And so I blast all the bandits. I let him out, and he's like, hey, man, thanks so much. I'm going to go pay this guy. And I was like, actually, you're paying me everything. And then I blasted
Mike,
him, right?
that sounds awesome.
So I really liked that. There was another moment where I went to go see one of the stalker/bandits big bosses at his base, right? And I got in there, everybody was cool, and I'm talking with him, and he's like, here's the deal. You give me 20,000 credits and we got no problem. And then the other option was, or I kill you right now because I'm the boss. And so now you have these issues with the technical problems, where there are a number of moments where you will choose, no, we're going to fight instead. And then all of a sudden it breaks out of the Fallout or Elder Scrolls dialogue that and it's like a pause, but the NPCs are running at me with all of their guns drawn, and my game is slowly bringing up my gun. I'm like, okay, we need this to hustle up, and then I blast all of them. And it's that's really fun. I wish that they would dial that in, because it is really tough, especially on normal difficulty, to do that. But I love the idea of I rolled into this guy's camp. We could have made friends, or I could have continued to side with the cops over here, and I blasted him, which was fun. I like the hardcore survival game. I know I bring up Escape from Tarkov, but that's what it reminds me of, is these extraction shooters that are life or death. Every bullet counts. Your positioning counts. That's how this game feels every moment. And just walking around and getting into engagements and kind of being aware I need to go, or now I know I need to stealth these three guys. Then I'm going to climb up on the roof. I'm going to get a good survey of the area in front of me. I'm going to snipe a couple, and then I'm going to run down there. I loved all of those moments there. It was so much fun. Paris, I don't know if you got the big sniper rifle from one of the captains out there, maybe because I was siding with them. I got this guy's special sniper rifle, and he's like,
no, I did not. But I do want to circle back to that first scenario that you mentioned. That was the same exact scenario that I had, but it played out completely different.
That's crazy, Paris. What'd you do?
That's my point. I love the dynamic aspects of that these encounters, depending on who you side with, the dialogue choices that you can make can go completely different, or it can go sideways, or whatever the case, right? So this is what we're talking about here. I know we've really labored on the technical issues. There's a good game here. 100% there's a good game here. And like I said, once the technical issues are ironed out, knock on wood, maybe they already are with the day one patch, I think people are going to enjoy Stalker 2. I really do.
Would I enjoy it, Mike?
Greg, you
Not
would
you.
would not enjoy this. Unfortunately,
Thanks,
you would
We're
you
good.
would enjoy a certain half of
The
this.
way you just said sounded
but
so cool. It
there's a
sounds like an
second half.
RPG, where it's like, oh, that sounds
If
great.
you put it on easy,
Yeah.
you would enjoy this. I noticed on my hour 4, I put it on easy because I needed to get through an encounter, and it is much different. But that punishing aspect is what's going to draw people and capture people.
Okay.
Because when you do
Yeah, I
die
want
over
that.
and over
I want
again,
that too.
and you feel that punishment, that's what we're going for in this game, and that's what you want to play out of that. So I highly recommend it on normal. If you want to go down to easy for an encounter or just to get the story, that's great. But
The
like
story sucks, you
the
say.
push of this game is, oh, this is tough and it's punishing me and I need to be better. What do I got to do? Because yeah, I'll tell you, an environmental anomaly, if you step into one, usually on normal, it's probably going to take you 75% or possibly kill you. If you're on normal, it takes about 25 to 50%, and you just kind of run through it, and it's like, oh, that's nothing to me. And all of the game's mechanics kind of just drift down, and they don't become part of the game anymore. So that's why going to beginner is not the right move here.
Okay.
But man, I'll tell you what, this guy gave me his sniper rifle, and I was like, you don't want to give me your sniper rifle? He's wearing the bullet casing. They have this big speech of like, you're going to give me the sniper rifle, and I'm a stalker, and you're a cop, and you're going to let me start shooting people with this, but you're wearing the bullet casing. People are going to come back to you. He's like, you know what? It's all good. I trust you. And I was like, you're the best.
That was a mistake.
Bad
I don't
move.
even know what happened
Bad
next. That was a
move.
mistake.
I'll tell you what, here's the issue. I pulled that gun scope up and it's sideways on the screen because the game is broken.
Oh,
and I
no.
couldn't shoot anything with it. And I was like, oh, that's so bad. But man, there's cool
He
moments.
said I
like
could trust him.
your gun jams and you got to like, there's this you're shooting right and then the gun jams and you can't shoot and you got to like reload and he pulls out the bullet from the guns and then you refire. It's cool. It's
cool.
It's a really fun time. I mean, even on normal mode, you're going to get into situations where I brought up with like the little crazy rats, right? There's a pack of 30 rats inside of
Crazy
this
rats.
dead school bus
Crazy
area.
rats.
And these rats won't leave me alone. And I'm trying to shoot them. And there's so many of them. They're just eating me. There's fun in this game. And I want that. But here's the issue, Tim. I'm a first impression guy. And I got 1,000 games to play. I got 100 games as a service bringing me in. And this game speaks to me in a way where I want more of it. I suffered through 8 hours of it, knowing it was broken. And I would have kept going. But now I have this moment of like, this game might just get put on the backlog and then even further on the backlog. And I might forget about it. And that's unfortunate for me.
Do
right
you guys
now.
see that this is going to be a 6 months, a year from now? All the headlines. Stalker 2 is great now. Stalker 2 is amazing now. We're re-reviewing Stalker 2. Is that going to happen?
I don't know. I think
Yeah, I don't know.
I think there's too many games. I rarely see that unless it's a classic or a great one. You know, I don't know where I stand with this. Leaving this review now, right? Like I want to get back to that. I want to see it because man, Tim. Another one is I love the world. I like the environment as like dead of a zone that it is. This like I brought up PUBG, like the first PUBG map, Erangel, right? That's Eastern European, Fallout wasteland where everything's kind of dead, but there's a couple of big buildings that really are striking and cool POIs. But then there's these awesome weather events where they call you and they get on the radio and they're like, yo, we got something coming and you got to get in. And all the NPCs will run into the base and you have to literally sit inside there. And they're like, not many people live through this. Like you got to usually seek cover, but there are some people that could. And I'm like, am I going to be that guy one day? We'll see. But I love the idea of like, there's this big world and a lot's happening from the cool anomalies that you'll find. You can detect and you can get artifacts through them. You'll see the craziest, freakiest stuff that are like straight out of control where it's like, oh, it's messing with my mind. What's happening with gravity and the pieces of concrete are flying in circles to all of a sudden there's just a giant thunderstorm and lightning bolts are hitting sideways all over the place. And the map is completely dark. My one critique, give me a better headlight lamp. I don't know if you know Paris, but like
It's like a pen light. It's going nowhere.
It is so dark in this game, like 80% of the
Yes.
time, because you are in like the darkest tunnels. You're in an abandoned building. It's nighttime, and they give me the weakest headlamp ever. It's like, yo, I just need you to know you can upgrade that a little bit. It's not going to take away from the intense nature of this game. I got to be able to see, and I know the chat's going to get on me like Mike can't ever see. I mean, I got the lights on. I got the lights off. My face is next to an 80-inch television. I'm trying my best to see this because it is so dark, and the lamp
Brightness cranked
the
to
lamp
100.
is this. It's like,
HDR
help me.
cranked up.
So, man, it's so much fun.
So, Mike, you being 8 hours in, Paris, you 11 hours in. how much of the game do you think you got through? Like, is there how big is this game?
Maybe a third.
Yeah, I wonder where I was getting to. I felt like I was getting to a pretty big moment, maybe the ending of the first third, maybe nearing the halfway point, because I was starting to mainline the story. Another great one. There's a lot of content here. There's a lot of side missions. There's a lot of stuff to do. There's crazy stalker little camp out hideouts that you can find with all of their gear. So you can find a lot of stuff if you want to slow down and explore the world. And it wants you to.
I was going to say, it sounds like the game you're describing would encourage me to go incredibly slow and scavenge everything and try to be more moving.
But yeah, I was hitting a big moment there.
Yeah, I'll just say this as we wrap it up, because, I'm glad this game exists. We need more games like this. Obviously, everything that GSC Game World has been through, they had to be commended, for getting this to the finish line. Sure, it is having a bumpy start, but hopefully they'll get that stuff quickly resolved. And I think to what you're originally asking Mike, I think this game can have some legs if enough people, because we know Indiana Jones is coming in a few weeks. I'm going to play it. I'm going to play Stalker 2 here. I'm going to keep playing it. Bugs aside, I want to get to the ending of it. I just hope what we see in early 2025 doesn't bury it, because we obviously know that February is going to be a monster year, or monster month, I should say, for a lot of games coming out. So it could kind of get lost in the weeds as a result. But I think if they can get enough of these bugs squashed early on, I think people, again, that it's their type of game, I would definitely recommend going to check it out and play it.
Very cool. Any final thoughts on this, Mike?
Yeah, this is a game that I really want to love, a game that I am interested in. It is a game that I just simply cannot play because it is not ready for me to jump in with all of the technical issues. I look forward to seeing the update and people hopefully praising it and saying jump in, and maybe I will. But for me, my life is moving so fast all the time. It hurts to say that I might not get back to this one, and that's unfortunate because I was vibing with this.
So jumping from Stalker 2 to Starfield, Greg.
Oh, snap.
Hello, how are you?
I want to hear all about it. You yesterday willed
it into existence. Said at the end to piss off my hot takes episode. I finish it off. I say, Bless, well, piss me off with a hot take. And I was like, they need to make more Starfield content.
Yeah.
He said, all right, you're getting there. And then what did we find? An hour later, they dropped their November update. And if you haven't seen it, I understand. No big deal. There's a bunch of bug fixes and things like that. Good. But there it is. This is what I saw go through, and originally on my feed, right? The new vehicle they have in there, right? The DMOG, as I'm going to call it. And I saw it, and I was like, oh, somebody did a creation. Obviously, mods are in Starfield now. Somebody did a creation of a DeLorean as a car. And it's like, oh, no, that's an actual thing. Since they've hit 15 million players, they're saying, hey, we're tossing this out there. And it's not... It's designed very much to be reminiscent of the DeLorean with the doors open up on the side. I've been playing with it since last night. Hell yeah. But for me, at least, more importantly, they snuck a quest in there. A quest called the Perfect Recipe. This was at the very end of their thing. It's very much a seasonal quest, right? Their description goes, in the spirit of Thanksgiving, the perfect recipe invites you on a heartwarming journey through Aquila City, where the past and present collide in the hands of an unlikely dreamer. This character-driven questline introduces you to Harb, a gifted mechanic with a hidden passion for the culinary arts. When you stumble upon a dusty recipe book during your travels, you learn it belongs to him, a once hopeful chef whose ambitions are set aside for a more practical life. Returning the recipes ignites a spark, rekindling old dreams of becoming a galaxy-renowned chef. But could it be too late for a second chance? As soon as I saw that yesterday after the stream, I was like, hell yeah, throw away everything else I was talking about playing tonight. I'm going to jump in and do this. Yesterday's Gregway was
space chef.
It was me. No, I'm helping the space chef. I'm not the space chef. All right, that's Harb's job. Don't worry about it. It was me, yesterday. Exactly. Yesterday was me planted for Gregway in front of my TV, downloading this off of it. But then I think maybe more importantly, downloading the Veil. As I talked about a second there, of course, Starfield, the summer or right before the summer, their big announcement was, hey, we're launching mods, we're launching the creation aspect of this. You can go in, you can make stuff, yada, yada, yada. And since that happened, I've been in there downloading stuff. Bethesda, even the quests they're doing, they're putting them into the creation shop, right? So you go there and you spend the credits to get them to go enjoy that, right?
Spend the credits.
Right. If memory serves, Perfect Recipe from yesterday, completely free. Escape, which is their bigger one they put out, was in there for I think 500 credits, which is $5 or whatever. And then they also launched it with some new stuff for the Vanguard missions, if I remember correctly, which I also think might have had money attached to it, but don't quote me on that. If anybody can look into that or correct me in the chat, that'd be great. This is their whole, they have a creator's economy out there that you can do stuff. Tons of stuff is free, but there is stuff you pay for. Anyways, when I was doing Gregway yesterday, I went in, downloaded the perfect recipe for free, downloaded the car for free, and then saw the Veil there, which is not a Bethesda Game Studios creation. It is, in fact, a creation of Almighty SE, a Starfield creator out there. And I clicked on it and read about it as, Barrett's going through right now, right? It's an actual full-blown quest line. Join Emily Archer, a former agent, as she follows a mysterious call from beyond the stars, confront an advanced and powerful new faction, and unearth ancient secrets hidden behind the Veil. The Veil is a quest featuring new locations, encounters, and large battles where your actions influence the outcome. With a strong focus on action, the creation also leverages the POI system to make each playthrough more unique. It's fully voiced by talented voice actors. And so, I read all that, and I was during the thing, I was like, holy shit, this is exactly what I want out of the creator's economy. It's nice to have a Mandalorian skin. It's nice to have the Batman skin. I'd much rather it be that I'm getting actual quests from people putting them out there. So I forked over the $5 there, downloaded this as well. Jumped in last night, did the perfect recipe. It was fun. It was cute. It's free again. It's a Thanksgiving theme thing, right? If I'm on the Kind of Funny scale reviewing that one specific quest, it's a 6.5. Harb was very enjoyable as a character. This isn't you're going out and killing a million people. You're not doing the space battles. You're not doing that, right? Perfect recipe was you find the book, you go talk to Harb, he let go of his dreams, and now guess what? He's like, I think I want to get back into it. So I run around, it's a fetch quest thing, run and get some stuff, do some little things for her, have conversations with this one woman on a date. Very, very weird. Because she was like, my date didn't show up, so you're going to be my date. And my wife, Andreja, is standing right there. And I'm like, listen, I made it clear every time, Tim. Yeah, I'm a man of honor. I said, this is not a romantic date. Even when she started hinting around about dessert, I was like, no dessert. No, ma'am. No. I'm with that woman over there. She'll stab you with her groat knife if I let you. I digress. Knocked it out, had fun. It was enjoyable. I thought it had a comical ending, and it was very much the Thanksgiving thing of like, we're all here to support you. We're your friends kind of thing. So that was cute or whatever. Again, cute, whatever. It got me to turn back on Starfield, drive the car around, which I liked. They definitely built one of the fetch quest missions to be, hey, go use the car. Then I booted up the Veil. I'm not done with it yet. So whereas the perfect recipe, I'm ballparking it 30 minutes, maybe less. I'm playing and not really paying attention. The Veil I started right after. It must have been an hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm still going up to the final thing here or whatever, but you want to talk about bang for your buck in terms of like, even the Bethesda escape mission that I loved so much was 30 minutes or whatever, maybe a little bit more. But the Veil, the voice acting, the choices, this is, again, I would say on the Kind of Funny scale, this quest, and I'm pretty sure I'm about to do just the epilogue, where like I've made the big choice, I lived through the decision, now I have to go deal with the fallout and have the conversation with a couple of people. Like, I mean, like, for being a created thing, holy shit. Because like this could have been slipped in and been like, I would have been like, oh man, the voice actors are wonky. Yeah, this guy didn't do a great performance. But when you learn, of course, it's all creators, it's all just mod community doing this thing and putting out a quest this good that again does what I want out of any of my RPGs, which is, hey, let's have some fucking choices. Are you going to go with this person or this person? You talk shit to this person or this person. Deal with the fallout ramifications of that. Let alone the big decision I just made here at the end or whatever. Really top-notch stuff. And so for me, if I'm giving the perfect recipe a 6.5, saying it's okay, I would probably say, and again, this is within the world of Starfield, this is an 8.5 great quest. Like, this is like, oh man, like, please give me more of these. I hope so much that, of course, the people who are involved with making this, Almighty SE, this is their first big quest. You have pulled up this companion thing. They've been creating for a while, and obviously creations take time. This officially launched on October 1st. I hope to God there are so many other creators out there doing it, because when they announced the creation stuff, I'm playing and this would be my thing. But first off, I'm not talented enough to use the creator to actually do it. And then secondly, I wasn't sure if it was actually able to do it. And now, still playing this, but playing through this, it is possible. It is something that's out there. And I really hope the community that is there, it really rushes to make cool stuff. And they don't have to be this long, but I'm really, really happy with it.
Sorry, is the community stuff, is that where the credits come into play?
Yeah.
So you pay, then do the creators get money at all?
I do believe that's how this economy works. Yeah, cool. Yeah, you're going out there and supporting them. It kicks it back that way. Yeah. But yeah, awesome stuff.
Nifty.
Super excited for me. It's such a cool thing of a proof of concept of where we go from here and what hopefully gets added. You know, Blessing joked around when I interrupted Games Daily to talk about it. He's like, "Oh, so you know the creators are finally doing what you wanted Starfield to do or whatever." And it's like, "Well, no, I've played 125 hours of Starfield vanilla. I want people to get in there now and make cool shit to go let me keep playing it and do more with my characters." Right?
Paris, this do anything for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of Starfield. I still have not played Shattered Space because I've been so busy with 1,000 other things. But I love that they're continuing to support the game, and we're getting this community created content. And we're seeing all these mods that are making all these quality of life features to it. So yeah, I'm definitely on board. I just got to find time.
Of course, yeah, big part of it, yeah. And it's, again, I can't say it enough because I think there are the people who have had bad experiences with it in the past, which I totally understand. But again, how awesome the cloud is. Like, I can't, I know we're in SF. I know we got great internet, blah, 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 blah. The fact that last night when Ben was struggling to go down and Jen was in there, I'm in there, she's in there, we're going in and out trying to get him down. I didn't want to go downstairs and lock in. So it was grab the backbone, toss it on my phone, go in and start. Like, again, for at least what I do in Starfield, and even shooting in Starfield, feels so fucking good. Set it up the way I wanted to. Go sell these things. Get everything. Go get the ammo. And then getting here today and I got in earlier than I thought. Right. So to try to have it wrapped by this show, which I got pretty dang close. Like I said, I think it's going to be ending when I get back to it. Like just to sit there and play. And even Mike, when he heard the music cue up on my phone, he's like, "You're back." You know what I mean? It's just like, but there it is, and it's going, and I drop in, and it just fucking works. I'm so impressed with Xbox and that cloud stuff.
Very, very cool. We got a couple super chats I want to get to before we close out this episode of the Gamescast and get to the boys playing some Magic the Gathering. Casper writes in saying, would reviews have to change because of the patch for Stalker 2, since they reviewed the game in a state that's different from what gamers will experience day one? I mean, that's the problem with the way that review codes come out and the way coverage of reviews happens, where, I mean, we just had a discussion here that we didn't put a score on it, right? This was a discussion about our thoughts, and we even broke down how that might change with a patch over time. Other teams might not do that. Other teams review the product that they're given. And I feel like, yeah, there's not a right way to do this, but I do think that when you put out a review code for people to review, that's what they're reviewing. And you can put as all the asterisks and caveats you want on it, but the experience is the experience. So I don't think that it's on reviewers necessarily to go back and re-review a game. That's not how this works.
Yeah, everybody takes something different with review and what that means, and we've learned definitely over our almost decade now of when we say review, what that might cue to somebody else versus what we mean for it, and you have to take it as the creator who's creating it and what a review means to them. So it's not like there's a law to go back and redo it. I think another big wrinkle to this that's very interesting and maybe alarming in some ways for the .coms and what we've seen in the industry and the video game press side is how little I think reviews do matter. Or I say how little they matter, but how their importance is dropping. Where it is so much a thing where it's like with fucking TikTok and streaming and social media and this, like it's no longer IGN's word is the fucking word of God, and whatever they said will make or break a game, right? Like it was when I fucking ruined some companies, right? It's the idea now that like that matters to a degree, but it really is going to be the Stalker podcast, the Stalker streamer, the breakthrough this, the person getting on to Game Pass today, using it on the cloud and having it run flawlessly and have the patch and whatever, like that's what matters the most to Xbox rather than what the Metacritic's going to be.
We got Isaiah saying that this maybe should have been an early access title. What do you think about that, Paris?
I don't think so. The game's final. It just has some technical issues. I think that's kind of unfair to say. That's why I just think it just probably need a little bit more time of polish and it'd be fine.
Jokerman says, always good to have Paris on a Gamescast.
Yeah,
I agree with that. And then the last one from Trevor here, Mike and Paris, I want both of your thoughts on this. When I think of a rough launch when I had to drop the game, I think of Cyberpunk, a buggy mess that I dropped after 8 hours and waited until the big next-gen patch. Would you say this is buggier than launch Cyberpunk?
No, this is nowhere near what Cyberpunk went through. Cyberpunk needed years of polish to get to where it is today. This might have needed, another month or two, and it'd be fine.
I agree with that.
Cool. Well, there we go, everybody. Another Gamescast in the books. Our initial thoughts on Stalker 2. Let us know in the comments below if you're going to play day one, if you're going to wait a little bit and see if it shakes out a little bit better, a little better performance as well. And yeah, stay tuned. If you're watching on Twitch, you don't need to go anywhere. But if you're watching on YouTube, make the jump to the other YouTube link where the boys are going to play a little Magic the Gathering, the actual physical card game. Pretty cool.
It's
excited
back.
to see
Physical
how this goes.
gaming is back.
It's back, baby. But yeah, Paris, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you?
I hate when you ask me this. You could find me on social media. I'm at Vicious696. You can find me on Gamertag Radio, and you can find me here. Kind of funny.
And
Find
his
him
great
everywhere.
YouTube channel. He likes to hide it, but he has a fantastic YouTube channel.
He can't
remember
remember the
it.
URL, but then he
Yeah,
tweets about
that's the
how
issue.
great it is and it's doing, but he won't say
Yeah.
anything about it. Change the name to Paris.
Go
too.
support Paris, everybody. Until next time, have a wonderful day.
Marcelo, get out of here.
Hey, that's my name.